It's that time of evening when we go to Melbourne Motivation. We turn to the man himself. He's a winner and he can sing too. We turn to none other than Miguel Melbourne for such. Good evening, Mr. Melbourne.
Erwin. I wish I could sing to Erwin. I do not have that talent. God knew what God was doing, not giving me that specific talent.
All right, sir. Well, work your
I,
show.
I heard good evening to you, Erwin, and I heard good evening to our distinguished listeners, wherever in the world you're tuning in from. We thank you. My name is Miguel Anthony Melbourne. And so at the top of this program, I must first give a big shout out to my son who turned 12 years old today. And of course, a big shout out to all the family and friends that came out to help him celebrate. Super excited.
And,
Must say that.
and congratulations to his mother because I know he's smart.
Oh, Erwin. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Uh, this week on Melbourne Motivation, I'm excited to introduce to you a trailblazing educator and entrepreneur, a woman I'm honored to call my business partner. Let me go ahead and tell you a bit more about her. Samantha Sinclair is founder and CEO of Pathway to Purpose. She started a company in 2016 as a means to bring innovation to education. Since then, she has partnered with 62 schools and organizations, worked across 24 school districts, and has impacted over 11,600 students. In recognition of her leadership, uplifting the next generation, Samantha was selected as one of American Express 100 Founders of Change. And so academically, she earned her bachelor's in social welfare from UAlbany, her master's degree in post-secondary education from Columbia University, and she's currently getting her Ph.D. in higher education at Seton Hall, right? And so Samantha credits her Guyanese upbringing as the driving force behind her entrepreneurial and academic successes. As a first generation college student, she notes her personal goal is to use her education journey to inspire students to reach their untapped potential. And so, with that, Queen Samantha Sinclair, welcome to Melbourne Motivation. How are you feeling today?
Hi, Miguel. Hi, Erwin. I'm feeling so good and so excited today. Erwin, I must tell you that you probably have one of your highest Guyanese listening audiences tonight. And so, hello to all of my friends
Yeah,
and
man.
family.
I'm a Guyanese too. I'm from.
Oh,
What part, Erwin? What part?
Moving, all the
move,
legend, all the legend,
move it.
all the legend.
You know what? Well, Samantha, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's actually where I want to start, right? And this is because I didn't know that the Guyanese Massive was so strong. And so I actually did a little research before I came on because I'm seeing more Guyanese flags than Jamaican flags. So I was curious. And here's what I learned, right? The fifth largest foreign-born population in New York City, Guyanese. In Queens, it's actually the second largest. And when we look over to Brooklyn, and we remember Miss Shirley Chisholm, she was the first Black woman elected to the United States Congress, Guyanese, right? And so here's where I'm going with this. It is clear there are many Caribbean countries punching above their weight class to meet
Yes.
success. And so hearing you give credit, right, for your academic and entrepreneurial success to your Guyanese upbringing, it's a powerful statement. So I'd love for you to just start by adding some more clarity around that for us.
Of course. So I am from Brooklyn, Flatbush in particular. And Flatbush, like many areas in New York City, is Caribbean dense. And so it kind of felt like you were experiencing all parts of the Caribbean just living in Flatbush, New York. Just my upbringing, my mom and dad played no games. And I know that that's so true for so many Caribbeans. My mom, she would take us to the bookstore downtown Brooklyn, and we would be assigned homework from her and my dad after homework from school. So we would have homework from her that we would have to complete. So my dad would help us with reading. We probably had every single Dr. Seuss book and we had to read it to him every night. But my mom would buy all these activity books and brain quests and all these educational games that we had to learn. And so education was at the focal point of my family. On Sundays after church and dinner, we would go to the library with my dad, Grand Army Plaza, for my Brooklynites, and I would spend hours just reading Babysitter's Club, which then translated into my love for reading. And so I took that with me into elementary school, middle school, and high school. I'd often skip lunch, buy some cookies and a juice, and just read in the library by myself. And so I spent so much time reading Chicken Soup for the Soul and every book that I could get my hands on. And so I'm pretty sure that that strong education foundation has led to the 7 college degrees that my sisters and I share. And my parents, like I said, they played a huge role in why that happened. And then just as far as upbringing, it's so often to think that, you know, we're the first in our families that are entrepreneurs, but shout out to my aunts and uncles in Guyana, right? The people that we spent all summers with. And I used to see them sell clothes. My Aunt Barbara and Uncle Steve, they would sell ice to the community at a time that they didn't have freezers. I remember my aunt also had a hair salon in a treehouse. And I was like, oh my God, she's rich. Like I would see her do people's hair. She had a maid who was really like a family friend that cooked for us and took us out. So I experienced entrepreneurship up and down my entire family. So I can say that my Caribbean upbringing, you know, living in Brooklyn and experiencing Guyana, experiencing Canada, exposed me to this quality of life that extended far beyond, you know, the streets of Brooklyn, New York.
You know, a lot of what you're saying is resonating. I'm sure just across the Caribbean, there's a lot of folks shaking their head like, yep, me too. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's homework after homework. Um,
Yes.
but as you touch on entrepreneurship, right? You know, entrepreneurship, education, innovation, these are not terms that's typically linked together, yet it's the area you jumped into. Can you tell us a bit more about Pathway to Purpose and what was your drive in starting the company?
For sure. So before I jump into Pathway to Purpose, and for your, you know, audience that tunes in every week, I'm sure they hear about it and they're like, please tell us more. So I'll definitely do that. But really, my journey to entrepreneurship was twofold. In 2016, my mom had a stroke, and it was at the point, Miguel, that I had just quit my job and that it was super comfy. I loved my supervisor. And I resigned because I wanted to pursue a PhD. I ended up leaving New York for the first time in my life. And I took a salary cut that was almost 50% of what I was making while working at College Now in Hostos in the Bronx. And she had a stroke like a month later. And I remember feeling financially like unprepared. And I said that that would be the last time that I felt that way for my parents. I wanted to make sure that, you know, in the event of something good or God forbid something bad, I'd be able to be their anchor. And so I decided 5 years ago that that would be my reality and I would do everything in my power to be able to accomplish that goal. And so, Miguel, I don't think it's any coincidence that now 5 years later, my dad had a stroke and I'm able to do so much for him that I wasn't able to do before because of a decision that I made 5 years ago. So you're talking about, you know, exposing someone in his 70s to acupuncture for the first time. And it's really a blessing because it's only through my decision 5 years ago that I was able to make that a reality. So that's on the family side. But on the business side and the idea, I remember being in high school. Shout out to my guidance counselor, Mrs. Finn, who I'm still in touch with to this day. And I'm definitely going to send this interview to. She was so amazing, but like so many New York City guidance counselors, she was overwhelmed. So I remember going into her office. You had to like squeeze through the entire senior class just to get to her. And it was oftentimes that she couldn't get to everyone, not because she didn't want to, but because it was a lot. And so I remember at 17 deciding, you know what, I'm going to have to get creative about getting help from her, intentional help, dedicated help. And so Miguel actually created a job for myself in her office. So I decided if I could help her get through her tasks, she could help me in the way that I needed to be helped with my college applications. In addition to that, I also remember my high school didn't really have college tours, especially out of New York City. And so I remember taking a Greyhound, like purchasing a Greyhound bus ticket and traveling 16 hours round trip to visit a college in Buffalo by myself. And it was an amazing experience, but it was one that I wish I was surrounded by 39 others, you know, from my school and, you know, 4 chaperones, what a lot of other schools get to experience. And so that experience taught me that, you know what, this wasn't a formula that I could take and give to every single New York City student. So I had to come up with a way to do something about the challenges that they were facing. So Path to the Purpose really came about because of my own story, both, family and also my academic. But more importantly, I realized that in my professional career, a lot of the students were facing the same challenges that I faced, a decade ago as a college-bound student. So I decided that I wanted to be able to work through their schools to bring them some amazing college prep services. So, I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later, but the idea behind Path to the Purpose was to bring to the students, in their schools, in their communities, through their organizations, the resource that they needed in order to thrive.
There's so much to pull from what you just shared. So much of us, whether here in the States, in the Caribbean, we can relate to a family member getting sick out the blue, right? And we have to make a choice. And so there's so much to pull from the way you fought back and, showed up for your family in that moment. And in the same moment, thinking about how can we help students to overcome some of the challenges they're facing. Here's where I want to go next. Here are some numbers. I just want to throw at you for perspective.
Yes.
20% of small businesses fail in their first year. 50% fail in 5 years. But on this past October 20th, your vision for Pathway to Purpose celebrated 5 years of success and is poised for more, right? So big congratulations on that.
Thank
Please
you.
give us some more insight on how you're reflecting on this accomplishment and what can students and families expect next from Pathway to Purpose.
Oh, Miguel, it has been a journey. I did a podcast last year, and the founder of Financial Gym was like, being an entrepreneur is like being at war. Like, it's like fighting a battle. So I would say that there has been so many ebbs, but so many beautiful flows. And I think the most important and impactful part was being able to incorporate family and friends into the events that I'm hosting, and then to be able to be a resource. So my niece, Tabriana, pretty sure she's watching, just went off to college. And so she got to be able to utilize a lot of the services that I provide, across the city and now across the nation. So as I reflect, I just think about all of the amazing students, over 11,000 that benefited just from our presence. And so, I mean, when I reflect, I really think that the truth is I could not have done this without my team. So thank you, really, thank you for being a leader in Path to Purpose. Thank you for bringing the entrepreneurial spirit, the positivity, and really the energy, because that's what students need right now the most. And also, special shout out to my right hand, Kathleen, who really just does anything to get the job done. And I'm saying, like, everything we need, from event setup to troubleshooting on college trips, she just gets it done. So as I reflect, I know that I'm nothing without my team, and it takes our collective effort on a daily basis to get the job done.
We're in a state right now where, whether here in America or in the Caribbean, we have educators who are having difficulty balancing their intent to simply teach students, right? And to balance that with the changing circumstances of how they do their job. So I want you to just reflecting on, you jump into the space of entrepreneurship and education and looking to create innovations to help students overcome challenges. What words, as we wrap up, what words of encouragement would you like to leave with those educators listening?
For sure. So first, Miguel, I'd love to just take a minute to acknowledge the challenges that we are all still facing to this day. So much has changed. And now truly, I think there's so many sides to a story. The truth is, now, due to school mandates, a lot of people are losing their favorite colleagues. They're losing their favorite, teachers and principals, and a lot is shifting. And remember, for students, sometimes they go to school just because of the relationships they form. So to find out that their teacher isn't coming back, or their principal or their guidance counselor, it really puts a dent in their enthusiasm for continuing. And so I just want to take a moment and really tell our educators, reconnect with why you started, right? Reconnect with your purpose, reconnect, and really think to yourself, is this what I want to continue doing? And if so, I have 2 words: be creative and don't be afraid to collaborate. Miguel, that was more than 2 words. The 2 words is collaboration and creativity, right? So the first thing that I'm seeing out of this pandemic is that a lot of teachers, they're collaborating with other educators and creating homeschool communities. They're, connecting with their students in different ways that they haven't before, and they're continuing the work. So I just want to say, just be flexible in your approaches to solving the problems that you're dedicated to. That's so, so important. And then just be creative. Remember that learning can happen anywhere. So right now, we're in a time where it's happening so much more online. find ways to continue connecting with the students you love and find ways to continue doing what you love doing. It just means you may do it a little bit differently. But trust me when I say we are with you. And this is something that we're going to need to work together to make sure that we continue to move forward in serving our students. So, Miguel, I'm not giving up. My team is not giving up. I know you for sure are not giving up. We're dedicated to these students. We're dedicated to empowering the education leaders. And the truth is, we're not going to stop until every student can make the best possible decision. And so what's coming next for us, we're really trying to ensure that, we're providing these services virtually. So rather than having to solely go through schools, students and parents can connect directly with us. And I'll tell you more about that, towards the end. But the truth is, our goal is to continue providing services no matter how challenging this time might be.
Absolutely. Samantha, you're a change maker. I thought this was the opportune time, as you're an organization that's meant to give students the solutions at a time that they need it most. And so I thought this was the best time for us to, have this conversation for the diaspora to learn a bit more about Pathway to Purpose, because it's going to take a collective effort. So please go ahead, tell our listening audience again, where can they connect, where can they support, where can they learn more?
For sure. So you can visit www.pathwaytopurposenyc.com. And there you can find a list of all the services we provide, whether you are a school leader or a parent or a student that just wants to learn more. You can check us out on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn. And the truth is, we use our blog and we use our social media in order to inform students about scholarships, because everyone is so concerned about paying for college. There you can also find the college study flashcards. We created this as a tool to ensure that students can continue, despite what's going on, to learn about college, to learn about entrepreneurship, to learn about affirmations. And so if you're interested in the flashcards, check us out on the website. We also lastly created care packages, gift boxes, empowerment gift boxes, so that students can be rewarded for the work that they're doing and have a resource that can be with them as they're filling out their Common App and the FAFSA. So check out pathwaytopurposenyc.com and connect with us on social media at Pathway to Purpose.
Samantha, I want to thank you greatly. Thanks for taking this time to share a bit more about you, your work, and what we're doing over at Pathway to Purpose. Erwin.
Thank you very much. And definitely we have to have Samantha back on, because there's a wealth of information there. And as my Guyanese friends, I have to keep them close. So, you're number 2 now, Mr. Melbourne. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for being on the program here tonight, Samantha, and best of wishes in your endeavors. Miguel, share with us how we connect with you.
Absolutely. Erwin, I was listening to your program earlier, and I'd love to echo the sentiment of supporting Miss Simone, right? SimoneForChildren.org. I am a basketball fanatic. I wish I heard something like that as I was growing up. It's amazing. Please remember, right, as Erwin put that out there, let's support that organization. And of course, you guys have a clearer sense of why my personal and professional goals are to help the youth be best prepared for their next level, college and beyond. Visit pathwaytopurposenyc.com. Use the code IRIE, IRIE, for a discount when purchasing our college study flashcards. Follow Melbourne Motivation on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You'll be able to watch this plus all the other interviews. So until next time, please be safe, live with big energy. Erwin, we connect again next week.
All the best to you. Good night, and thank you.